Welcome everyone to another Marvel Crisis Protocol unboxing. So today, it's Wolverine and Sabertooth. Wolverine has always been my favourite X-Men character. Since the very first X-Men comic I read, the cartoons I used to watch in the 90s, I've played a lot of computer games with him as an option as a character, so I always played him as the character because I think it's great. I like his attitude. He really is that lone wolf. Well, tries to tell everybody he's a lone wolf, but he actually does play well with others. He's just worried what could happen when he's around them. So, I think he's a great model. I think it's a great pose. And in this box, he also comes with an option, a head option. So you can have him classic grizzly looking Wolverine, or you can have him with the 90s mask on. So, I think this guy is a pretty good pose. I was half tempted to green stuff him to turn him into Weapon X, just because I like to be a special snowflake and a little bit different. But I really can't resist the classic 90s look. So I think that would be amazing to paint up, as he is on the box art. Now, Sabretooth has changed a little bit over the years. This, like most other Marvel Crisis Protocol models, is very much comic book based and certainly nothing like the films. He always had a bit of a weird outfit, but yeah, Sabretooth is pretty much the dark side of Wolverine, and these guys have clashed a lot over the years. Even though Wolverine probably won't remember half of it, because his memory's been wiped. But yeah, they have clashed for a long time. They've buddied up a couple times, but they're never really mates, you know. Victor Creed, which is the real name of Sabretooth, is that mercenary. He is that bad guy. He will do anything. Whereas Wolverine at least has some kind of honor, at least some kind of code. So Wolverine is not his real name. Is actually called James Logan Howlett. So some people have called him Logan, but his first name is actually James. And he was born in the 1800s in Canada. So, like most mutants, his powers awakened in his teenage years, and he stabs the family groundskeeper, and he basically flees. So he's been on the run ever since, and he has been signed up with the Weapon X program. Colonel William Stryker thought it was a good idea to give him alimantium coating on his bones. So he's always had quick regenerative powers, so Logan was the ideal candidate for this. So not many people survive. So alimantium, if you didn't know, is one of the most strongest metals in the Marvel universe. So it's one of the strongest metals on the planet, and he is nigh on unkillable. Now, he has died a few times in the comics, but there's generally a way to get him back. And of course, Wolverine was played by the legendary Hugh Jackman, which I can't imagine anyone else playing Wolverine in the films. Which I'm sure Wolverine will be out in a few more X-Men films in the future, so it'll be interesting to see who he's played by. So yeah, you can tell I'm a bit of a fan of Wolverine. And Sabretooth, like I say, he's the dark side of Wolverine. But yeah, take him or leave him for me personally. Here we go. Opening up the box. I got rid of all the horrible shiny crinkly stuff. And we'll get into the models first. So in my last video, which was unboxing Deadpool and Bob, I actually showed the models fully assembled. So if you prefer that, leave a comment below. So choice of 4 bases there, the classic cup and the crushed can. So pretty good detail. So pretty good detail on his torso there. Like I said, the option on the heads. And the classic Wolverine claws there. which are actually quite durable. I thought they were going to be so flimsy they would break, but one of the benefits of doing these models in plastic, see, these guys really do work out. Shredded, no pun intended. So Victor Creed Sabretooth has extremely long claws, whereas Wolverine has claws coming from the gaps between his knuckles on the backs of his hands, as you can see in the picture here, whereas Sabretooth is actually his fingernails. So as per usual, pretty easy instructions. It's normally the torso and the limbs, and they are numbered. I do like these models. There's hardly any mould lines, and I do prefer plastic glue, so it does fill a little bit of the cracks in. And a good old tactical rock, Sabretooth is leaping from there. I think I will replace the tactical rock on Wolverine, and if you've seen my previous video with Deadpool, you'll find there's quite a few extras with Deadpool. So I might make a corpse for Deadpool and put him on the base to try to shut up that mark with the mouth, because Deadpool does like to wind people up. So it's card time. This is the real reason you're probably watching this video. Let's see if I can get the cards out of the packaging without destroying them. So, as per usual, Marvel Crisis Protocol would not be complete without a bazillion cards. So we have a bazillion tokens even. So we do have Brotherhood of Mutants symbol, because Sabretooth can also work for the Brotherhood. It's not entirely a lone wolf. You're dazed, you bleed. I got a feeling you're going to need bleed tokens working with these guys. So, shall we talk affiliations? Like I briefly mentioned, Sabretooth will work for the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, X-Force, and Cabal. So funny enough, I am mainly collecting Cabal. I say mainly a bit strenuously, because I know full well that I will slip off the wagon and I'll end up collecting another force. But I can't say no to Wolverine, so I might have a mainly Cabal list with Sabretooth in there, because I do like the healing factor. And I could always chuck Wolverine in there as well, purely because I've always been a big fan of Wolverine, so I'll probably try to fit him in the list. But Wolverine himself will work for Avengers, Defenders, X-Force, and X-Men. So if you're a big fan of Wolverine in the comics, you'll know he was in the Avengers fairly early on. So he's not always been tied up with X-Men. So, I mentioned briefly healing factor. So both of these models have healing factors, which is the bottom of the card. So I will zoom in a little bit. Healing factor 1. So at the end of their activation, they get to heal 1 with Sabretooth. Wolverine, in fact, has a healing factor of 2. So it's just a little bit more resilient. So they are both power 4. Sabretooth has 6 stamina on the healthy side. He has a long movement, because in the films and the comics he always has that pounce, that very feral, low to the ground pounce. He does seem to be faster than Wolverine. So I'm glad in this case fluff does equal rules. And he is large. He is a big old 3. He is a big model. He's a big guy. He is a powerhouse. So 3 defense and all. So in the physical, the energy, and the mystic. Okay. So his feral slash is range 2. It's 5 dice, so strength 5, cost 0. After this attacker's resolve, this character gains energy equal to the damage dealt. Pretty much standard. He has bleed on a wild, so after this attacker resolved, gains bleed on a wild. He also has pierce, which means it takes 1 wild to do both those things. It's not or, it's both. And pierce is fantastic because it changes one of your opponent's crit, wild, or defense results to a blank. Quite strong. Quite strong. Savage Predator is next. Cost 4. range 2, 7 strength, so 7 dice. So if you get a wild and a hit, you gain finisher. After this attack is resolved, this character may make a claw slash attack. This character may reroll any number of attack dice during that attack. Super, super strong. You'll find Cabal has quite a few reroll shenanigans, so that works quite well with Cabal. Now, superpowers. The first one is No Mercy. It costs 3. During the next attack action this character makes this turn, add 1 die to its attack roll for each damage target character has to a minimum of 3. Pretty nice. So that's a finisher, you know. So it's the next attack. So if you've already put in, I don't know, there's no point in putting in Savage Predator, because if you get finisher to get the Claw Slash and Savage Predator and No Mercy, it's probably a bit overkill. Plus Savage Predator is 4 energy anyway, so you'd be using 7 energy there, which is pretty strong. But he really does wail on people. That's taken a bit of a kicking already. Untamed Force is the next one for 2 energy. After an attack against this character is resolved, it may use this superpower. If the attacker is within range 2, this character may make a claw slash attack targeting the attacker. This superpower can be only used once per turn. It's nasty. Not many people want to get in close combat with this guy. If they did, he can smack back, and it's gonna hurt. Really is. So here we have our first passive, which is aggressive. So these are always in play. After an attack targeting this character is resolved, if this character suffered any damage, it may advance small towards the attacking character. So even though he's got a long range, if you do wound him, he's coming to get you. He is fast. This is a fast model. He's going to do some work. On his injured side, so 6 on the front, 6 on the rear, and he has the same amount of attacks and everything. So it's pretty much the same front and rear. So this guy is going to be fast. He's going to hit hard. You probably aren't going to want to attack him because he's going to get close, and you're certainly not going to want to attack him in close combat because he can smack back. And fairly average defense, but with that healing factor, he's going to stay around a little bit longer than you hope. If you're the attacking player, that is. So Wolverine. So I'm going to try not to gush too much over this guy. He is awesome. I've always loved his quotes, and I just think he's a wicked model. Right, so he is 7 stamina on the non-injured side. Movement is medium, so he is a little bit slower. But you have to remember, his bones are made of metal, so he is going to be a bit slower. So, size 2, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And like I said, they're both 4 points. So, a bit more on the physical defense. So he is a physical defense of 4, still 3 on the energy, and only 2 on the old mystic. So the mental defense of this guy isn't as good. He's been through a lot. He has seen some stuff, and if he can remember that, it will haunt him for the rest of his days. Some of it he can't remember. Some of it he gets flashes of, and it drives him nuts. So he's not he's not the sanest guy. So he has Alimentum Slash for his range 2, strength 5, and 0 point attack. After this attack is resolved, this character gains energy equal to the number of damage dealt. Sounds very familiar. He's bleed and pierce in the exact same manner as Sabretooth. So both attacks are exactly the same. This one's called Alimentum Slash, one's called Claw Slash, but they're exactly the same. 2, 5, and 0, and they have the exact same conditions. Next he has Berserker Barrage, so it costs 3, 7 dice, and it's range 3. So in that regard, it's slightly better than Sabretooth. You know, Sabretooth's cost 4, still 7 dice, and it's got a little bit more range. Before damage is dealt, place this character within 1 inch of the target, so it gets even closer. If this attack deals damage after the attack is resolved, if the target character is size 3 or less, this character may throw it small. That's pretty good. So if you're on an objective, get this guy up and you can throw them off an objective. That's pretty good. And it still does the same amount of damage as Savage Predator. The only issue is Savage Predator gets to re-roll, which is really nice. So I do understand why it's 1 extra point. Hey, I'm the best at what I do. I'm the best at what I do is an action. So it specifically says action on this superpower. And now I'm saying bub in my head and things like that in a gruff Canadian voice. Right, so it cost 3 energy. It's an action. This character immediately makes a move action followed by an Alimentum Slash. When making this attack, each wild in the attack roll counts as 2 successes. That's strong. Doc Ock has something quite similar with the 2 successes on wilds, but it says each, and I believe Doc Ock is just when he gets. So that's really, really strong. This superpower can only be used once per turn. Funny enough. So it gets to move, so that's 1 action. It gets to attack, so it's 2 actions for the price of 1. Alimentum Slash isn't that bad. I know it's normally free, doesn't cost any points. But this costs 3, because if he gets any wilds, remember wilds have bleed and pierce. So it'd be bleed, pierce and 2 successes. So you really are fishing for those wilds. If you get any wilds off there, that's big, big news. Then we have the Alimentum Skeleton. This is what I was talking about a second ago. So even though he's technically size 2, when determined if this character can be thrown or pushed or affected by a spell or special rule, and colliding with another character or terrain feature, this character counts as size 3. Yeah, that's because he's solid. He's literally made of metal. So he's the healing factor of 2. So slightly better than Sabretooth. So at the end of his activation, he gets to heal 2. So it's going to be quite hard to do 7 damage to flip him over to his day side. So you're probably going to do, if you get a really good attack in, let's say 5 damage. End of his activation, he's going to heal 2 of those. He also has an immunity of stun, which is great. So on the other side, this angry Canadian midget is only 5 stamina, rather than the big old 7 that's on the back. So it's a bit different. Sabretooth is 12, so that's 6 and 6. And this guy is 7 and then 5. So slightly different. I do like it being stacked heavily on the front though. So Alimentum Slash is the same. Berserker Barrage is the same. But you notice he now has something called Wild Rage. Add 1 die to this character's attack rolls for each damage token it has. Additionally, this character cannot interact or hold objective tokens, which is quite big. So he is completely mad, off his rocker at this stage, frothing at the mouth, and he's just all out for killing stuff. So he won't be holding objectives, but he is just going to mess some stuff up. So imagine 7 dice with Berserker Barrage, and you get an additional dice for every wound he's got on him. So, alright. Okay, so that's pretty nasty. You could have an extra 4, because he's going to die if he takes 5, obviously. So you want to get him fairly close to being damaged to mess stuff up. But, yeah, not too close that he's going to die. So he's still got the healing factor of 2, but his immunity also gives him immunity to stagger as well as stun on the injured side. So the artwork is boss, classic Wolverine. His clothes always gets messed up when he gets shot to hell and ripped up, because he can heal, his clothes can't. So they're both different animals. They really are. No pun intended. So Sabretooth is very fast. You know, he's got those lunges. If you wound him, he's going to get closer again. Whereas Wolverine, you're probably going to put him on an objective more, because it's going to be hard to get rid of him, especially against his physical defenses, physical attacks, with his physical defense being slightly higher, and with that healing factor, that's really strong. And if someone is on an objective, and you do manage to get up there, you can throw them off an objective. It's pretty damn handy. But when he's taking damage, he becomes a proper beat stick. So it's going to be a lot of fun to play. So those are the main character cards. Right. So we do not have any mission cards. The team tactics cards, I will zoom in just for ease. So we have the 1-2 punch. So we've got 1-2 punch in the core box. We've seen this before. It's unaffiliated. Most people have seen this, but I'll run through it anyway. But the difference is, this time around, it's Wolverine and Sabertooth fighting together against a Sentinel. And I do hope there's going to be some Sentinels in this game. So I do quite like this card. I have them in most of my lists. But this time around, like I said, it's just slightly different artwork. When the active character targets an enemy, characters with an attack and the target character with an attack and the target character, when the active character targets an enemy character with an attack and the target character is within 2 of another allied character, those allied characters can spend 1 energy each to play this card. Add 2 dice to the attack roll. So it's Wolverine and another model is within 2 of something you're going to mess up. Let's say you're rolling 7 dice for Berserker Barrage. Now you're rolling another 2 dice. If he's on the injured side and he's taking a bit of a kicking, and let's say he's got 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 dice maybe. Maybe he's on his last health. Then you do this. That's a lot of dice. He really has to mess somebody up. He really is the best at what he does. So, Weapon X program. So the Weapon X program is what gave Wolverine the Alimentum Skeleton, for example. They've not had a good reputation. They have messed some mutants up in the past, I tell you. They've gone after the likes of Deadpool as well. And they've also got in the way of Omega Red. Because Omega Red was slightly angry before. No, he's really angry. So, this is unaffiliated. Wolverine or Sabretooth may spend 3 energy to play this card. This character is thrown small, does not suffer any damage if it collides with another character or terrain feature. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, it gets him up slightly faster. Is it really worth 3 energy? I suppose if you really have to. It's going to hurt people when it collides, which is great, and it doesn't hurt yourself. It's not bad. It's okay. And considering they're both technically a size of 3, yeah, it's like being hit with a car. So it's not bad for 3 points. I'm not sure if I'll put it in my list, but I'll do it one-off just to see what it's like, and it seems like a lot of fun. Right, exceptional healing. That's a good joke. I like that. Unaffiliated, it's reactive, so it's not an active power. This happens after something happens. When an enemy character with healing factor superpower would be damaged by an enemy effect, it may spend 3 energy to play this card. Reduce the amount of damage suffered to 1. Not reduce the amount of damage by 1. It is literally, if someone's really kicked them hard, let's say they've done 5 damage, they've only done 1 damage. So it's healing factor as well. So healing factor affects Deadpool as well. Because remember, Deadpool was part of the Weapon X program, and one of his abilities, his permanent abilities, it's always in effect, is healing factor. So he's a healing factor of 2. So technically, he can use this card. And any more cards in future that have healing factor come up, for whatever reason, can also play this card, which I think is really strong. I do like Deadpool. Obviously, I like Wolverine and Sabertooth. If I'm playing Cabal, chances are I'm playing Sabretooth in my list and or Wolverine. Imagine all 3 of them have been in the list. You would definitely take that card. That's a fantastic card. So if someone really hits you big time, does some massive amounts of damage, reduce that to 1. Not by 1, to 1. That's brilliant. Love that card. Definitely going to be using that with these boys. Right, I've waffled long enough, I'm pretty sure. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't hit that like button already, please hit that like button. Feel free to put up any comments. There will be some battle reports coming soon for Marvel Crisis Protocol once I have a whole team painted up, because I'm not going to play it unless all the models are painted. Because that's half the fun, isn't it? Seeing painted models on the table as well as seeing a game being played. Right, hobby safe everyone, and I'll catch you on the next video.